Robert Jennings.
Good evening. We begin tonight with the worst financial year the U.S. auto industry has had since Henry Ford built his first car in 1908. Two of the big three car manufacturers reported enormous third-quarter losses today. General Motors bled the most. It lost $1.1 billion. Ford lost $574 million. Chrysler reports next week. This is enormous news because for every one of the 1.3 million workers who actually make the cars, there are twice as many in related industries who make the tires and the windshields and the seat covers and who sell the cars. It has overall been a terrible year. Here's our economics editor, Stephen Ogg.
John Koons Jr. was on the job early today. He's one of the biggest auto dealers in the state of Virginia. But today he was trying to reassure employees that their jobs were safe, even though he has now put 8 of his 9 dealerships into bankruptcy. He blamed the recession, which is keeping buyers away, and the bankers who devalued his property and cut off his credit, even though he was up to date on his payments.
We are a credit economy, and when the credit sources start cutting everything off, we're not going to ever get out of this crunch.
Nationwide this year, about 40 auto dealerships every month are going into bankruptcy or simply shutting down.
The lending institutions are taking just a little closer look and maybe calling some of their notes. And so you've got a situation where you have a stagnant economy, so to speak, right now.
Car dealers like Lee Beeman in Nashville are suffering because consumers are buying used cars.
New car sales are down about 10%, and used car sales are up about 34%.
Many consumers like Fred Carpenter are not buying at all. They're spending money to repair their old cars.
It's got plenty of life left in it, and whatever it needs to have done to it, I decided to have it fixed for a while, and it beats making that $300 a month payment.
It's just hard for people to commit that much money, and it's much easier for them to maybe get a small loan and put a brand new motor in their car and get another 50 or 60,000 miles out of it.
But repairing cars and selling used cars is not enough to keep every dealer in business and does not help the bottom line at the big three automobile makers. So far this year, Ford and General Motors have lost about $4 billion, and the losses are likely to continue for the rest of this year. Stephen Ogg, ABC News, Washington.
Since the recession began 15 months ago, more than 1.5 million Americans have lost their jobs, and not many industries have escaped scot-free. This week, for example, Hyatt Hotels has laid off 700 management employees. Hotel executives say that never before have there been so many empty hotel rooms. Here's ABC's Gary Shepard.
In Los Angeles, the landmark Bonaventure Hotel has filed for bankruptcy. In Beverly Hills, the once trendy L'Hermitage has gone broke. Near Palm Springs, the huge DoubleTree Resort is about to be auctioned off by the Resolution Trust Corporation. Agents say they'll be lucky to get 26 cents on the dollar for it.
I can't recall a period of time that we've gone through with as many foreclosures as we have in the last couple of years.
The recession has prompted people to cut back on both business and personal travel, so occupancy levels are down sharply this year, below 63% nationwide, less than break even. During the 80s, the hotel industry went on a building binge, which is now coming back to haunt it. In San Diego, 10,000 new hotel rooms flooded the market over a 6-year period. Now construction has been halted on a number of properties. The big San Diego Marriott is just barely breaking even this year. Employees like doorman Nate Porlis say tip income is down 30%.
I just recently got a second job as becoming a teacher's assistant to help supplement the loss of the income, working here full time.
The room nights are down for groups, and therefore they're not giving us as many hours, and I can't make money if I'm not here.
To promote business, Marriotts are taking a cue from the airlines and offering special non-refundable room rates. For example, this room, which normally costs $159 a night, goes for $109 if paid in advance.
Well, the key to the hotel business is heads in the beds. So you do what you have to do to get the heads in the beds.
Hotel industry experts say the business is in such bad shape this year they wouldn't be surprised to see price wars breaking out among the major chains. Some analysts are predicting as many as 25% of the nation's business hotels could go bankrupt during the next 18 months. Gary Shepard, ABC News, Los Angeles.
Well, the stumbling economy may be starting to take a political toll on President Bush. Our latest poll shows that 7 in 10 Americans believe the president spends too much time on foreign affairs. Mr. Bush's overall approval rating is at 65%. but it has been falling quite steadily since the Gulf War. And when our polling unit asked if the country needs a president who can set the nation in a new direction, 51% of those people we asked said yes. On Wall Street today, the Dow Jones Industrials lost more than 20 points to close at 30.39, and the trading was heavy. In a moment, the American hostage Jesse Turner, free and frail. On the American agenda tonight, the high cost of cutting health care for the poor and the elderly. And finally, the pleasures of misquoting Mark Twain. U.S. Air Force Hospital there. He'll undergo a number of medical tests during the next few days, and a good deal of questioning from U.S. officials about what he went through as a hostage in Lebanon. 1,731 days in captivity. Here's ABC's Sheila McVicker.
There were flowers, yellow ribbons, banners, and cheering military staff at the American Hospital of Wiesbaden to welcome Jesse Turner back from nearly 5 years as a hostage. It is in Germany where he will be reunited with his wife, mother, and the 4-year-old daughter he has never seen, where he will begin to put together the years of his life lost while held captive by Islamic fundamentalists in Beirut. This morning in Damascus, the mathematics professor from Idaho was handed over to American diplomats by the Syrians. It's still not clear just when yesterday he had been freed by his captors, but Turner was pale and without the beard he'd worn in a photograph released days ago.
Just like to say I'm very happy to be out finally, and looking forward to see my family and friends. And I wish to thank everybody for all their help.
But unlike other hostages recently released, Turner wouldn't talk about his ordeal. When asked if he had seen other Western hostages, he turned to the American ambassador for guidance and chose not to respond. So it's not clear tonight whether he was held with any of the remaining Western hostages or what conditions he endured. At 44, Turner was one of the youngest hostages, but today he seemed weak and frail. As he was leaving the Syrian Foreign Ministry, he missed his step and he almost fell. In Damascus tonight, officials and diplomats say they do not believe the release of another Western hostage is imminent. But they say the negotiations started by United Nations Secretary General Javier Perez de Cuellar have begun a process that, however slowly, will ultimately lead to freedom for all those still held. Sheila McVicker.